Hey there, what if I told you that failing all those times at losing weight and battling food is actually the biggest asset that you have? And that your struggles to stick with a weight loss plan for an extended period of time is actually a good thing. Let me show you in the next 5 minutes why the typical approach to weight and food will never work long term and how you can use an effortless approach to eliminate the chronic struggle with food and weight. I would love to offer you a solution designed for people that battle weight and food chronically instead of typical short term strategies that reduce weight temporarily. And how would you like to eliminate the need to control everything you do around food, exercise, and weight? No more counting calories or carbs or macros, and your body doesn't get heavier even if it has in the past when you've tried to stop everything. This is for women who know so much about nutrition and exercise they could write a book on the subject, and they think their problem is they just can't stick with something. And they're often saying things like, I know what to do, I just can't seem to do it. If that's you, I've got news for you. The typical weight loss strategies aren't for you, and that's a good thing. If, however, you just want to look good for a vacation in a few months and you don't really care about permanently ending your battle with weight and food, this is not for you. If you'd rather just keep losing weight as quickly as possible without caring if it comes back, this is not for you. And if you're terrified you'll have to deal with this battle for the rest of your life, pass it to your children, and never achieve peace with weight and food, I know that that's a hard thing to swallow, but you're in the right place. Now, I want to give you a warning because the following is required for your success. Willing to live a free-spirited life where you follow your intuition and break traditional rules, the desire to be a free thinker instead of unconsciously agreeing to what is fed to us by a billion-dollar marketing and sales machine that doesn't have our best interest in mind, the weight loss industry, a commitment to living your most fulfilling and authentic life without limitations. So if you're willing to do those things, then this will work great for you. So I'm Michelle, and I wasn't always this present and peaceful person who easily connects to their body and effortlessly maintains her weight. I'm actually a dieting survivor. I feel like I need to make shirts or stickers or badges for this because I know I'm not the only one. At a very young age, I learned that to be successful in life, you have to work your ass off at all costs. And that if you wanted something, you do whatever it takes to get it. I prided myself on being an achiever, on being strong, efficient, a solutionist, strategic, analytical, and being obsessed with success. So in 2006, I decided to take that approach to get my ideal body. I approached weight and food like a Viking in a war. I worked as hard as you possibly could to be healthy and fit. I took every piece of advice to an extreme, and everyone around me praised me for my dedication, my discipline, and my work ethic. What they didn't know is that I was suffering inside, and I was rapidly gaining weight. I just hit it really well. I was binge eating every day. I was obsessed with calorie counting. I was an exercise bulimic, and if you don't know what that is, that's when every time you eat a little bit too much food, you exercise to burn the calories. I was miserable, but I was working hard, and that kept me in the game. And when things weren't working, I would just double down on the work. But in 2008, I was hit by 5 cars and I couldn't move. I was forced to heal. I couldn't do anything except lie on the couch and receive support from those around me, and I lost 10 pounds. Nobody was more confused than I was. Not only did it go against all conventional wisdom on weight and health, but it went against everything I knew about success. It challenged my hard work ethic, which was my strongest value. I spent the following years getting education and training around this alternative approach to life, and I approached weight and food from a grounded and connected place, and I did end up releasing the rest of my weight and haven't had a problem with weight and food ever again. And then guess what happened? I ignored all of it. So the same way that I approached weight and food that didn't work, I applied it to business. I became obsessed with sharing this information with the world. I went right back into being dedicated and disciplined and hustling to be successful with my online business. I overspent on marketing programs. I overworked to force results. And I followed everything every expert said, no matter the cost. Once again, I received my praise as an action taker, as a master implementer, and for being ruthless with my dedication to my business. What they didn't know, my health was suffering, my relationships were suffering, and worst of all, none of it was really working. I started developing other chronic symptoms that put me right back in the same position I was in with weight, just a different label. I finally realized the formula I was using for success was not for thriving, it was for surviving. It's like living in the jungle, afraid for your life every single day. It's exhausting and it's hard. It became clear the way we are taught to approach weight and food are from this survival energy, and it will never set us up to thrive. I started attracting opportunities really easily after that. I published 3 books, I booked myself on news stations, it wasn't even hard. And I went on to get my master's in human behavior, and I'm finishing up my PhD in psychology. I stopped valuing surviving, and I started to study how ease and effortless can guide us towards everything we could ever want. And I've been helping women achieve success with their bodies and food effortlessly since then. And it's been my absolute pleasure to watch other women have the exact same experience as I did. But the best part is witnessing how they apply these lessons to all aspects of their lives for a truly full and limitless life. I put this little blurb here from one of my clients, Ellie, because she's talking about how she is easily releasing her weight, no problem, but also how this is happening after having a baby, which for many people, that's one of the more difficult times for that to happen. But it's just falling off, even though she's eating ice cream and cookies in addition to veggies and salad. And it's just a really beautiful example of how this is applied to somebody else who has been struggling with this for far longer than I did, actually. She was struggling with it since she was a preteen. Now I'm going to explain how you approach chronic weight and food struggles differently in just a minute. But first, I'm curious. Have you ever wondered if the reason that you feel the way you do about weight and food is because it's off? Like maybe it's not you that's the problem, it's the way in which people are teaching these things that's the problem. While the typical survival approach gets stuff done, there's a better way that accomplishes more over the long term with 90% less effort, without draining you. And if you've been operating out of survival like me, maybe you've tried everything possible and it hasn't worked and it feels like something is wrong with you or your body. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what you need to do to approach chronic weight and food struggles differently so you can stop working so hard for so little. In other words, you'll take action, but it will be from a place of ease instead of angst, which allows your weight loss department to work efficiently, burning more calories, digesting food better, and metabolizing optimally. So how do we do this? So we're less than 10 minutes in, and I'm going to give you my entire secret process. Step 1 is pleasure-filled eating. We need to learn how to create a relaxed, calm, rest and digest state inside of the body when we eat. And even when we're not eating, but especially when we're eating. Think about it. It's called rest and digest. Obviously, that's the state we want to be in when we're trying to digest food, right? Now, if we were just feeding our bodies, we would simply notice fullness and stop eating. It'd be a physical response. We notice that physical response, but oftentimes we are urged to keep eating when we're physically full. This occurs because we're not allowing the head phase of digestion to happen. Our body is urging us to stop, but we feel addicted or weak or out of control because we just can't seem to stop or ignore or resist. The needs of the head phase of digestion are strong. We can only ignore them at the beginning of a diet when our motivation is at its peak. But as soon as that inevitably wears off, we're left with the unmet needs to keep eating. So if you look at this cluster of words, these are the needs of the head phase of digestion. One of those being an actual eating experience. So if you're not present while you're eating, you're robbing yourself of an eating experience, which is going to drive you to want to keep eating. Things like enjoyment, satisfaction, pleasure, fulfillment, nourishment, comfort. These are the types of things that we actually have a need for. We can't ignore them. When we stop dieting, we go back to what we think is pleasure eating, we're not actually doing that because we don't allow these needs to be met there either. We beat ourselves up, we judge, we berate, we feel guilty, and we rob ourselves of very real needs with food. We're mindless when we eat, which robs us of those eating experiences, even when you're not dieting. We're numbing out with binge eating. We don't allow food to be good unless some health expert deemed it as good. And we don't allow pleasure or satisfaction because we think food's the problem, and as long as we have weight, we don't get that luxury. And none of it's true. All those thoughts and feelings you have about food are right. The desire to enjoy all foods is right. The wanting to eat what everyone else eats is right. When we fulfill the head phase of digestion, the mind stops obsessively asking for food. We do have an initial deprivation period that you have to go through that is very difficult for many people, which is why I handhold during that time. But after that initial deprivation period, you will return to a rational, calm, peaceful, and logical place with food. It will no longer consume your mind, and you will easily eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. You will crave a variety of foods that are balanced and automatically desired in moderation. But this cannot happen in deprivation. So one of the things we have to do in this pleasure-filled eating step is we have to allow our sort of rebound time when we get out of the dieting world to happen so that we can get back to a rational place with food. Now, the second step is we have to restructure the weight loss department. So survival mode is fight or flight. It creates an environment inside of the body that thrives temporarily, so you don't die, and it putters out fast. It gives you great results at first, and then it's drained. Worse off, after it's drained, the recovery process usually has the opposite effect that you desire on the body. So imagine you see this in the jungle. It's a big, scary lion. Now, this state of being chased by a lion or being afraid of a lion is happening when you restrict food and starve your body, or when you don't give it enough food when it's hungry. Ignore those symptoms, ignore those signals. It also happens just being afraid of, oh my God, I'm going to gain so much weight. It also comes from the obsessiveness and the controlling that happens when we're dieting. So that state is a survival, fight or flight, and it's the same as if we were seeing this big scary lion in the jungle. If you look at what these different responses do, in the fight or flight stress response, a lot of things change. Our metabolism changes, our blood sugar changes, our adrenaline obviously changes, our heart rate, and they all go up. So our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up, and the metabolism goes up, right? So that's why in that initial spike, you can see some results. And it's coming from a state that's only meant to be temporary. And the other things that happen in fight or flight is a lot of stuff goes down. So your digestive system, your immune system, your concentration, your thought process, your creativity all decrease. Yeah, but in turn, the rest and digest does the exact opposite. Now, don't be afraid that the metabolism goes down. It doesn't mean that it goes down under the ability to burn fat efficiently. It means it goes down from that initial huge spike that happens with the fight or flight. So it's not going down to inefficiency at all. It's the total opposite. When we increase the digestive and immune system, then we're creating an optimal environment for fat burning. So that's the state we need to be in. We are supposed to call on fight or flight in true survival situations and then switch back to rest and digest. But most of us live in survival, even if it's just the way we approach weight and food. Remember, the easiest way to trigger survival is not to give our bodies enough food. Which is why I lost 10 pounds lying on the couch, not moving. Because I had been in survival, fight or flight for years, potentially my whole life. And so then at that point in which I couldn't move and I couldn't do anything and I was forced to heal and rest, my entire system, my weight loss department restructured to burn fat optimally, even though I wasn't even doing anything. So we need to create a calm, relaxing environment inside of your weight loss department. So it's okay if stressful things are happening. I don't want you to think that if your life is stressful, that you're doomed to be struggling with weight and that you're going to have slow fat burning. Don't worry so much about other areas of your life. We just need to start with the huge elephant in the room, which is weight, food, and exercise. If we eliminate the fight or flight survival mode with those things, that's going to make a big enough shift that everything will work more efficiently. Step 3, we want to flow to your ideal body. So exercise has a dirty little secret. We're taught that the following happens when you hear stress or exercise is a stress reliever. We're taught that when you begin exercise, the body is under stress. It's an intentional stressor, like, challenging the muscles and endurance and those kinds of things. And then cortisol is released. And then when we end the exercise, that stressor is now removed. And then the endorphins are released and the body heals. And that's why we're taught that exercise is a stress relieving activity. And when this cycle happens, it is. What usually happens is that we begin the exercise and the body is stressed, the cortisol is released, and when we end the exercise, that increased stressor is removed, but the body is still living in survival mode, which means the cortisol was already high, and now we just made it even higher and the cortisol continues to be released, the body remains in the sympathetic nervous system response, which is known as fight or flight, and the body can't heal optimally or lose weight. That's why sometimes when people increase the intensity of their exercise, they don't lose weight. I was one of those people. It was only making my body more and more stressed every time I did it. It was literally working against me. I was better off lying on the couch than exercising at all. And that's because of the state I was in when I was exercising and the cycle that was happening, which was this one as opposed to the ideal one. Your movement needs to encourage connection and rejuvenation. Connection to your body, meaning, getting in your body. So if you're doing exercise and you're having to escape or numb out or be multitasking or not pay attention while you're exercising, then you're literally eliminating the number one reason why it would be beneficial to your body. You can still challenge yourself, but it needs to be from empowerment, not punishment. And our exercise has to actually balance our body, not throw it more out of balance. So this is why for me, being in fight or flight already and having that higher level of stress and cortisol already, me doing any kind of intense exercise made everything worse, which is why the minute that first I stopped doing anything because I had to from the car accident. But even after that, when I was doing yoga and nothing else, my body was releasing weight very quickly because yoga was balancing out what my body actually needed. And the last step is authentic living. At the end of the day, we need to move closer to the life that we want. I mean, duh, right? But what we tend to do is sacrifice what it is the life that we want temporarily so that we can lose weight, and then we have the expectation that we'll have that ideal life once we're thin. Like, I'm okay temporarily sacrificing the way I would want to live in order to achieve a result, because when I achieve that result, then it'll be easier for me to live the life that I want to live. That tends to be the way we think about it. So we have this dream of what our ideal life is, and we make a decision to do whatever it takes to move closer to it. We may feel as if it's far away, and we dream about details like feeling free around weight and being able to eat foods without overeating and looking great in clothes and feeling confident and amazing in our skin. We think about our ideal life and we think about words like freedom and joy and peace and balance. It's a beautiful description of the kind of life that we all deserve to have. And then we convince ourselves that if we had a lighter body, we would have all those things in that ideal life, or at least it would be much easier to achieve. So we do whatever it takes to achieve that because it's the thing in the way of all that we want. And the things we do to get it are like the antithesis of our ideal life. So we do things like disconnect from our bodies and ourselves, deprive, punish, restrict. We have hard rules, we have extremes, which is moving away from our ideal life as it's trying to move closer to the lighter body. So if you look at the two arrows here, we're constantly doing this push-pull thing because we're doing these things in hopes to achieve a lighter body, moving towards the lighter body. But at the same time that that's happening, it's pulling us away from freedom and joy and peace and balance or whatever else you've put in your ideal life. We need to change the order. We need to be honest with ourselves. The type of life we actually want to live is not, we can't sacrifice everything to have it. We have to focus on what those unmet needs and desires are, like freedom, joy, peace, balance, and know that we can't keep pushing off those things until we're thin enough because that order will never work. So now you see we have where we are today. We increase our freedom, our joy, our peace, our balance, which achieves our ideal life. And the truth is, when we are moving in the direction of what it is that we actually want, it's also the process that allows the body to release excess weight, because the excess weight is there as a chronic symptom to move us closer and keep us accountable to our ideal life. Not to keep us accountable to eat less carbs, to keep us accountable to the life that we actually want to live. We can accomplish the lighter body with disconnection deprivation, obviously, right? So you could get there, you could do the typical dieting types of things, but if we don't learn how to achieve what we want without those things, we will never have our ideal life. It puts a big barrier there. We keep moving away from the ideal life. We get stuck in a cycle where we keep getting lighter body. We keep disconnecting, depriving, punishing, hard rules, restricting, extremes. We get to lighter body and then we go back to the current life because that's where all that exists. We get trapped and we keep moving farther and farther away from freedom and joy and peace and balance. Your weight loss plan is your dream life. Those desires, those needs, that dream is the very path to have everything you want, peace with food and your ideal body. We just have to exit the dieting world very carefully so we don't get trapped in survival mode, because for most people, if we go back to this, exiting this disconnection, deprivation, punishment, like that's all we know. And so if we're not doing those things, we feel very, very scared, out of control, and it creates an even, more intense level of survival mode. So we do have to be really careful about how we are exiting the dieting world so that we don't get right back into survival mode, just with a different label on it. It's all about enjoying food, trusting your body, flowing downstream instead of paddling upstream, and living an authentic and connected life. Because you've been lied to. The weight loss industry has convinced us that the reason we're struggling with weight and food is because something is wrong with us and our bodies. They tell us that we're addicted to food, our willpower and discipline are low, that we aren't dedicated enough, or that we don't want it bad enough. The truth is, you have an efficient and able weight loss department inside of your body. The problem is we aren't allowing it to do its job. We create a stressful environment full of control, manipulation, micromanaging, and force. We are aggressive, abusive, and competitive, and this creates a stressful environment inside of the body that slows down fat burning, digestion, and metabolism. We need to restructure our bodies to operate from rest and digest, not fight or flight. From this place, our interactions with food, exercise, and weight are effortless. It requires very little of your energy and attention, which is why it feels so hard right now, because you're not supposed to be doing it this way. Your body is screaming at you to stop, to trust and allow, to stop controlling everything, to still show up and be honest and accountable with yourself, but from a grounded and compassionate place. So to sort of sum up, the 4 reasons that we battle weight and food chronically are because we're operating from fight or flight, which causes inefficient fat burning. We are using temporary based solutions that work great for like a celebrity for a movie or fighters or wedding or vacation. We aren't making the changes that the symptom of chronic weight and food struggles is asking us to change, meaning we allow that weight to make us motivated to do something, but we do things that move us away from our ideal life, when the whole reason the symptom is there is to hold us accountable to live the life that we actually want to live. And we are attempting to lose weight by working against our own bodies, which doesn't make any sense at all. So women come to me and ask for a meal plan or an exercise routine to follow, and it's the wrong questions. Nobody on the planet can give you a meal plan or exercise plan that will work long term unless it accidentally aligns with your body's desires and needs. Now, this doesn't mean there's not a place for meal plans or exercise routines. If you are no longer in deprivation and you're in a rational, logical place with food, and you have some desires to do something different with your food or exercise, it's very easy to follow those plans and it feels good. But if you are in the state of deprivation, restriction, and survival, then none of it will work. So there's always a place for these things, but everybody I meet with is nowhere near needing them. At the end of the day, the weight loss plan has to come from you, and my job is to help guide you to that plan. Fortunately, your body's actually whispering it to you every single day through intuition and desires and needs and random thoughts, and your job is to listen. And if you continue to approach weight and food the traditional way, it will always feel hard because it's efforted by you instead of your body. It will always feel like a struggle because you're trying to convince yourself and your body that this is the right thing, when your body knows best. Like, you are like, no body, we're doing intermittent fasting. I don't care if you're hungry. I don't care if you like it. It's what we're doing. And so you're working against the body, which is why it's so hard. When you actually learn how to do it this way, it's literally as easy as driving, meaning it takes some effort at the beginning to learn it, but then it's completely effortless once you learn it. And I know you're probably thinking, this will only work for people who have thin genes or don't like food as much as you, for women under the age of 50 who aren't dealing with hormonal changes. So let me eliminate your doubts right now. I have worked with women of all ages, backgrounds, and circumstances. These are women that start off thinking this isn't possible, but they're willing to take the risk to find out. There are some skills that you do actually need to learn because, unfortunately, the weight loss industry has really messed with our natural and innate abilities to interact peacefully with weight, food, and exercise. And I created a 60-day program that will not only teach you all those skills, but actually enjoy the process. At the end of 60 days, you will tap into that head phase of digestion and move out of deprivation and feel logical and sane around food. You will restructure your weight loss department to rest and digest for optimal fat burning. You will release the have to around exercise and end up craving it more. And you will sync up with your body's needs and live your most connected, authentic life. What you learn from this program will help you with any chronic symptom, as I learned after I tried to do things the exact same way in other areas of my life. And even a symptom like not enough money, which I know doesn't necessarily feel like a symptom, but when anything is chronic and recurring, it is a symptom. And the way that we approach this and the way that you'll learn how to approach this is going to help you with even symptoms like that. When you operate from rest and digest, you are automatically more calm, magnetic, creative, intuitive, and goals are achieved with effort and ease no matter what they are. If, however, you want to live a life where you brag about how many miles you ran or how many veggies you ate, which those are great things, but if that's where you're putting all of your praise or value, or how long it's been since you've had a carb, this isn't for you. If you're willing to give up everything, including cake, Cheetos, and French fries, just to be thin, so if you don't like those things, don't eat them, but if you're only avoiding them just because you want to be thin, this is not for you. The program only works when you lead with intuition and implement in a way that feels amazing to you without wavering. And if you're interested in learning more about this program, I'm going to give you a link that will open up a chat with me on Facebook so that we can meet each other and see if it's even a good fit for you. So if you head to tinyurl.com/LU course, which stands for Lighten Up Course, tinyurl.com/LU course. It's as low as $97 a month, so it's not a massive investment. And if you're feeling like you've tried everything and you really don't want to invest in yet another weight loss program, I get it. If you're thinking, sure, this program sounds great, but what if I fail the program? Let me remind you that every single person I work with feels that way. But instead of believing it's too good to be true, they realize that it's supposed to feel good to move towards your dream life. That's not supposed to be all about blood, sweat, and tears and pain. They deserve to follow a process that brings them closer to themselves and their ideal life to achieve their ideal body. Why wouldn't it be that way? They also realize that the reason they failed all the other times is because they were operating in survival mode. That when you actually make the changes that bring you closer to a fuller life, you flow downstream instead of desperately paddling upstream. In other words, it feels so much easier to keep going. Because hopefully by now you've realized that it's truly not about eating too many calories and moving too little, that there's so much more to the story. When I was struggling, I had two thoughts that kept coming back time and time again in between all my diets. This is not the body I am supposed to have, and it's not supposed to feel this bad to move towards what's good. Those thoughts kept coming back and I'd push them away and be like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what the experts say. What do you know? I realized those intuitive recurring thoughts were the highest version of myself nudging me in the right direction. That I needed to stop listening to everyone else and listen to myself. And I was terrified that it was quite possibly the dumbest idea ever. But I figured I'd try doing it their way, and it was worth a shot to do it my way, and it paid off big time. Once I allowed my own thoughts to have a voice, it was like my entire body took a deep sigh. You can do this. If you say yes to joining me in my program, you will have all the pieces you need to live in rest and digest, to enjoy food, to enjoy your body, and to enjoy your life effortlessly. You will no longer be worrying about what to eat, what not to eat, what the next diet, or what the scale says. But without learning this, you will continue to operate in the typical weight loss world that really isn't concerned with longevity or reality, because they make money off your temporary results. It's impossible to live peacefully in your ideal body if you don't learn how to connect and listen to that body. Which is why I want you to learn how to do this so you can have your customized and unique weight blueprint that you never have to effort. So message me today to learn more at tinyurl.com/LU Lighten Up course. tinyurl.com/LU course. And it'll be me chatting with you so that I can actually meet you, and I'll let you know if I don't think this is a good fit for you. I have no problem. I don't want anybody to be enrolling in this course that I don't think it's going to work for. But if it feels like a good fit, I would be happy to get you started so you can move closer to this ideal life that you have in your head that is so much closer than you would imagine. So let's make it happen.